introduce the show.
I think that just became the introduction.
Yeah.
Hey, good. What are we doing here, Ryan?
We're answering your questions.
Outrageous!
Okay, so
Are we ready? All right. Roy, any advice on how to best form a relationship with a new prospect who you cannot meet in person, but you're stuck working with only remotely?
okay.
Henry Greenberg.
Yeah, Henry, this is super easy. Number one, praise something they're already doing. You heard me say this a week ago. And then your prospect will know how smart you are because you recognize how smart they are. Now this needs to be an authentic thing. And if you can't get past the gatekeeper, if they're just not returning your emails, not returning your phone calls, whatever, not accepting your calls, then pull out your cell phone and make a little video. Make a little video of yourself. And then when you send a video, I think you potentially increase your open rate.
Yeah, and if you send a video, Rex taught me this, if you can show something, show it, don't tell it, and on camera. And so even though you're sheltered in place and you can't go to people's homes, or you can drive around and stand outside of a business. And if you have something to say about their business, their marketing, and there's a billboard they've done that you thought was good, drive over to the billboard, stand with it behind you and go, I just wanted to say this is awesome.
Listen, anytime somebody offers genuine affirmation and praise for something that you're doing, and in your heart, yeah, I'm glad you noticed, because I've always been kind of proud of that. I've always known we were kind of exceptional in this area. Now the fact that you spotted that makes me like you. And so what happens is, I'm telling you, if you don't have a sales pitch behind your back, if the first couple of times you talk to them, it's just to tell them how awesome you think they are and here's why, and just keep up the great work because this makes you special. Penny and I just drove through Chick-fil-A, and we sat there going, good gosh, we were so worried that this was going to take forever because they're jammed. It was lunchtime.
Yeah.
They had a third lane open from the time that we showed up on the parking lot until the time we had our food, less than 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and there was this huge, and
know what they're doing
there's
with
probably
that.
like 30 cars there and like 10 in each lane. No, we just almost never even had to hit the brakes.
They should be doing the COVID-19 tests,
I'm telling you.
obviously.
All of America would be tested by DART.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roy, Daniel, and Ryan. I have a client who's a franchise for a national brand, Chick-fil-A. We're advertising in his local market since the parent franchise has never done any real advertising. That's about to change. We just found out HQ is about to launch a $750 million national ad campaign, and their core message is almost exactly what we've been saying. How does it affect us? Should it affect us? Is this a curse, blessing, or neutral? Jake Leonard. So somebody at HQ is paying attention.
Yeah, I would. It'd be nice if you were the agency of record on that, because it sounds like you already did a lot of the hard work. I don't know the nuance of how this works, so I would actually kick it more back to you and what you'd say. I mean, it sounds like I would hope that the franchisor would not, require the franchisee that you're working with to stop, working with you and go with some kind of central group, or I know sometimes franchisors can do an ad co-op where everybody's got to throw in, and now maybe they're less likely to spend directly with you. So I would just want to get clarity on what the deal is going to be, and does this mean that you're cut out of it? That's what's unclear to me based on this question.
Let's assume you have all the money.
Yeah.
And you can still do your own marketing. Do you still do anything differently than the parent company now that they've essentially absorbed your message?
I think to me it's validating. I think you can go to your client and be like, look, see, and if you can still be involved, then now you get put in the cool position of doing kind of bolt on and build on campaigns that take, because ultimately, look, it's going to sound similar, but it's still going to be corporate and it's still probably going to kind of suck, right? But if they're paying to get the brand message out there, and you go and run new, better versions of what they're doing, which you'll almost certainly be able to do, then it's just going to be an amplification and a multiplication. The key is making sure that you don't get cut out of the deal, and making sure that when you talk to your client that you're able to say, ooh, this is good news. This means you don't have to spend a lot of money kind of laying the foundation and the groundwork. We were going to have to do that. Now the franchise is going to do that. We can simply build upon it because the messages
Now you
are
can
aligned.
draft essentially off of their $750 million campaign.
Well, the fact that they're saying exactly what basically you've been saying already is affirmation that you did your job well, that you were on the right track, you isolated the right information, you're communicating it basically in the right way. And now that corporate has independently or as a result of hearing your ads, it doesn't really matter. It's just additional repetition, it's additional frequency. And so if somebody else is going to pay an enormous amount of money to make your brand more widely known, that's a win. That's a big win.
Period.
And you don't have to change what you've been doing if they're reinforcing it. It's just additional money that you don't have to spend.
But do not let them get in the thing of like, ooh, now I don't need you. That's akin to being like, the government's going to take care of me. And I think any small business owner is going to know that that isn't the case.
Nope.
With the franchisor being the government in this one.
In January, just before COVID, we launched Shop Local Online, providing pickup and store curbside service and delivery options just before. Wow.
Good timing.
Good timing. Adding Shop Local Online was a strategy to keep our locally owned pet supply and services store relevant. We're fortunate to have this in place during our current limitations, and we're an essential business. Yes, that's true. Given our experience, we see it's going to take more than shelter in place to convert shoppers that started shopping Amazon and Chewy. How would you recommend we proceed through this delicate period to win the online shopper? So now that everybody's online, how do we get the local business? Over the last 10 years, we've refined our product variety by learning about our clients. We're price competitive. They can call, text, email, or order electronically. We deliver next day, if not same day. Thank you again for your gift of Ask the Wizard Keith Killian.
Okay, so how would you recommend we proceed through this delicate period to win the online shopper as our fan? And then he says, it's going to take more than this whole shelter in place thing to convert shoppers that were previously shopping Chewy or Amazon. I agree. So if Amazon is delivering it to your house and you get what you want when you need it and it's already set up, it's kind of like trying to convince somebody to change who carries their insurance. It's a lot of work. I've got insurance with this company and you're telling me I get a better price from you, but is it enough better?
How much better?
Is it enough better to blah, 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 blah. It's going to take more than keep the money local to convince me to go through all the hassle of unraveling this deal to start a new deal with you. And the question that wasn't clear was, he says, they have pick up in store, curbside service, and delivery options. Okay, is the delivery free?
If the delivery is free and you can get it now, then you're better than Amazon.
Right.
Because right now
saying
Amazon's
is,
canceling
to
freaking
say,
everything.
he said we have delivery options. He didn't say we have free delivery. Now, anybody that has an Amazon account, most of us are Amazon Prime, which means we're not paying for delivery. So if I can have it show up at my house for free from Amazon, but for you to bring it to my house, you want extra for it, that's not comparable.
Right.
And so that's one thing that wasn't clear in my mind. I do think, is there a way to address this? If the delivery is in fact free, and if you can get the same brands and similar prices, and it's going to be brought straight to your house, okay? It's just like Amazon does. Is there a case to be said for, hey, look, if you're buying from a big multi-billion-dollar company, just be aware that that money's leaving town, and that company isn't going to spend it with other people here in town and keep our local economy thriving. But when you spend it with us, we can do that.
Well, and also,
now, I don't normally advocate that message.
Yeah, me either, because I always felt slightly whiny to me.
Here's the difference.
Shop local, please.
No, here's the difference. Until you point out that one factor, you don't have shit to talk about.
Yeah.
See,
the one factor was keeping money in our town.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you don't have shit to talk about. If I can get the same thing, and I've already got it set up with Amazon, I get the same thing I'm getting from you at similar prices, and they bring it to my house, and you're saying you'll bring it to my house. I've already got it coming to my house. So why do I need you? Well, if you remember the end of It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, they're talking about what a savings and loan is. They're talking about what a bank is. And it says, yeah. You deposit your money, and I loan that to him, and he opens this store, and he hires these people, and they have money to spend over here, and they have money to spend over here. And because they have this money coming in, they have money to spend over here. And then those people will have money to spend with you, And so you can demonstrate why it matters to shop local and not assume that people understand, well, shop local is better because you're supporting somebody here. Well, when you're supporting somebody here, you're supporting yourself.
Right, which is even better than local.
Exactly.
Me is the ultimate local.
Yeah, that's a tough one to thread, but I think it's the only possibility you have.
I think there's another one actually. If you look at Amazon's, I think that's great. If you look at what, go to Amazon, I would look at what's your number one seller. Look and search for it on Amazon. There's a really good chance that down in the area where it talks about Prime, it says most of our items due to this are not shipping, next day or same day. And so Amazon has pulled back. The shipping is still free, but they're basically telling you, look, we're going to be delayed.
It's going to be May before you get that bed sheet.
Right,
ordered.
and so and the way they describe it is these for non-essential items or some of these things. So I think running a campaign around. Amazon says that this particular item is non-essential, but we know that if there's one thing that's essential in your life, it's the life and the health and happiness of your pet.
So you're saying there's a time-sensitive message that's the
I
third
think
option.
so. If you want to get this now and you want us to bring it to you, we'd love to do that. And I would classify for now, if you don't do free delivery, look at doing free delivery. To me, it's an advertising and marketing expense. If you need to pull from budget, if maybe you'd pull back from that budget, put somebody who works for you in a car, have them drive around. I think it'll be the cheapest advertising that you'd get. Slap some
Put the same
magnetic
message on the
signs.
car, yeah.
Slap some magnetic signs on it. Have them driving around doing deliveries, and I think you'll get it back. And
Crap, if I saw a
habit will be
car
there.
driving by me that said, we think your pet is essential, and we deliver.
Same day deliveries on all pet products.
That's a cheap slap sticker.
Next
right
question.
there. Daniel and Ryan, my client Jeremy of K&H Exteriors was trying to figure out if he should advertise now, and if so, which should the message be? Yes. I have not gotten involved in commercial production in the past. I just took it and aired it, but Jeremy was asking for input. Roy sent the video on advertising in a crisis, so I sent it. He watched it, like what Roy is saying. His wife and business partner Jenna put these commercials together, the combination of 30s and 15s that are telling a story. Pete Conway.
And so we're going to watch, yeah, I love Pete.
That's
We're going
Pete.
to watch these like 7, 15-second, and 30-second ads.
Okay.
And then after all of them, we'll comment about the group as an entirety. All right?
Got it. That's got to be the best use of stock video I've ever seen.
Do you think even like the really dorky little local, like the wedding and the family reunion, you think that was stock footage?
I don't know. To me, where are we commenting now?
Yeah.
To me, those were my favorite, actually.
Yeah.
The dorkier, the better.
Yep, and I think where the homemade video, and what's interesting is we instantly recognize the authenticity of those old school homemade videos, and today what that looks like is vertical video shot on a phone. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you want to do the more modernized ones, and you want to have a continuity of imagery going across, because that was the only thing, and I know we're watching them in sequence, so it's not entirely fair, but if I think about it like a campaign, the visuals and the music were very different throughout. From one to the next, it'd be one that would be more upbeat, and that's okay, like it kind of matched, but I think if you want to have a campaign and go with it, I like it looking a bit more, I like the ones that were a bit more homemade, and I think if you wanted to have more modernized homemade ones, have them look like they were shot on an iPhone or actually shoot them on an iPhone.
Which ironically gives you a lot of dead space for text.
You can also find a lot of stock imagery that is iPhone. So if you don't want to go if you are on a budget and you need to work with more stock imagery, you can find vertical video stock imagery that is out there. Or I know some of the things that we're doing at our company, we're asking our team members while they're at home to take videos of themselves in their place reading different things. So that's stuff that you could do as well.
I agree with what you said. The older the video, the grainier and the worse lighting, were charming because it immediately took you back to a more innocent time.
Right.
When everybody was innocent and dorky and stupid, and we laugh at it now, but at the same time, it's very endearing. Now, what I will say, while the style of photography and the sense of what makes this one goofy is different than what makes that one goofy, okay? I agree that stylistically, if you're going to choose between those two different styles, one is modern video shots just being silly on purpose, and the other one is goofy by nature of being yesteryear, and just weird dorky stuff that they weren't trying to be dorky, they just were. Even taking that into consideration, there was a consistent character diamond. There was a consistent personality that came through different styles of production.
I do think we're critiquing a second layer of critique.
That's my
right
point.
Here. Like they were well done.
What I'm saying is the script, the ideas, and the execution were well done, but you're right. It's a second layer. We're saying, okay, so even though the campaign is solid as a rock, and the character diamond, the personality of the company is consistent across all the ads, and it's a good one. That personality is extremely good. The fact that there's two different styles, pick one. And I think the consensus here is that the older video footage, whether it was purchased or whether it was authentic, doesn't matter. Just that weird, older, goofy look gives you a little bit more of a visual cue. There's a little bit more of a visual style guide going on with the old retro footage.
Right.
Because the other stuff is more commonly seen. And I'm saying is using retro footage from the 50s and 60s and early 70s, you just don't ever see that.
I have a question and something I saw multiple times in this campaign.
Right.
And I faced it writing the second video that we shot that's going to air today for Crowded Barrel. I really am reacting negatively now to these people who are like, it's all going to be okay. We'll get through this. It's going to be fine. There will be another day, right? Because while that's true, everything's so unknown right now. That's like someone after a breakup telling you, there's other fish in the sea. And it's like, that's not what I need to hear right now.
And especially when you've been hearing it, you didn't want to hear it necessarily the first time, and you really don't want to hear it 2 or 3 weeks. And that was the only one where I had a little bit of a negative reaction to, was the rainbow, this too shall pass.
So I think I might have found and
that could be me, by the way.
No, me too.
Yeah.
That's why I'm reacting to.
I'm just fine.
I think I found a way around that. And that's why I wanted to present. I'm inserting my own question. Okay. Is that fair game?
It is. It absolutely is. So I agree with what both of you said with a slightly different angle.
Well, I have how I think I fixed it. Let me see if.
What happens is there was a time when that was exactly the right thing to say.
Yeah.
But that time lasted a week or 10 days. And then when that week or 10 days was over, Everybody had heard it. Everybody had heard it enough. We were done hearing that. And so now, I think what we're saying is things are changing every week. And oddly, this is a horrible thing to have to say because I don't want to say it. Because people's attitudes and thoughts are changing week by week, the ads need to be changing just as fast.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we need to be writing 3 times as many ads as we've been writing in the past, because the burnout isn't because of too much repetition. The burnout is the fact that people's thoughts, feelings, and attitudes about things are changing on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, really fast.
And what they were comforted by 10 days ago is not what they're comforted by today.
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing. And what they wanted to hear 10 days ago is not what they want to hear today. And 10 days from now, it's not going to be the same as it is today. And I'm saying, so keeping your finger on that pulse is really tricky. That being said, and we'll cover this just before we wrap up, again, with data. Is it better to be a little bit off the mark in your message, but you're out there advertising? Or is it better just to hunker down and be quiet so that you don't embarrass yourself and piss people off?
Definitely be out there.
And I'm saying be out there, even if you're a little off the mark, even if you're a little bit late changing your ads.
I would run 100% of all of these a lot of times before I did nothing.
Right.
And I do think that's important. Like it's always, we're saying anytime you ask for somebody's opinion, you're going to get it. And this would be a really boring show if we just went, great ads. All right, moving on.
They are great ads.
So I think it was about plussing, not about...
I went with, so I shot a video yesterday. We're going to air it today. Not by the time you see this video, but Friday. And I had to say that. I had to say there's going to be a future, right? Because it was part of this thing that I had written. But I remembered us talking about, and we're always teaching at the academy, it's better to be specific, right? Don't say, there was a lot of people, say there were 1,427 people, right? Don't say, I've got a lot of dogs, say, I have 34 dogs. Right? Get to name it, right? And so I'm wondering if the message that I just gave, which is essentially a story about building the deck, and it's my favorite time of year on this campus, it's spring, it's beautiful, and it's really heartbreaking that I'm out here on this deck alone at my favorite time of year during spring. But here's the thing, and this is what I said. I didn't say, don't worry, we'll get through this. What I said is, there's always going to be another spring at Crowded Barrel Whiskey Company. So don't worry about it.
Right.
Right? And so do you think that threads the needle?
Well, this is what's interesting. Daniel has not seen or participated in the preparation of what's on this laptop. In a few moments, I'm going to make exactly the point he just made. That just proves how smart I am.
Oh.
That I can predict.
Not what I expected.
I can predict.
That is not what I saw coming either.
That I can predict what you're going to say before you even say it. All right?
Now I got to read ahead.
I think I can predict it too.
That's some serious stock imagery, baby. Shutterstock all day long. Oh, it's looping.
It's looping. I don't know why. I'll get out of that.
You got to want it.
There we go. It wasn't a second ago. Roy, once we're on the tail end of this temporary situation, what would be the top 3 suggestions, it's very specific, you would have on effective and strategic welcome back, now open, make a fresh start type messages?
Did you say real specific?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Boom! Make no reference to the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make no reference to the past. Whenever you said, now that it's over, now that it's over.
We're all tired of it.
Yeah, so guys, don't take them back where they didn't like it the first time. Don't take them back there in their mind.
Anchor back to positive emotions, not negative.
Describe the future that is possible.
Just saying you would always do.
That's what you just did.
There's going to be another spring.
Is that what you just did?
Yeah.
Describe the future that is possible. Be happy and share your happiness.
Yep.
So whenever this is finally over, do not talk about the past. When it's over, you don't need to tell people, hey, it's over. Either they agree with you or they don't. And if they agree with you, you didn't need to say it. And then if everything is happy and you're talking about this possible future that's just ahead, and it involves buying what you sell, how you can change their world. And I'm going to give you at the very end of this an example. So it's a video for a local restaurant that isn't currently open. And last week we were talking about here's what you do. Mm-hmm. You make them look forward to this amazing future. Oh, he does that.
Nice.
Oh, he does that. Now, local restaurant. Amazing video, 2 minutes. I'll show it at the very end. Be happy and share your happiness. Mm-hmm. That's how you end this thing is you don't talk about why you're happy. You just talk about
it's a party.
It's on. Yeah. They're doing this thing. Now, this is Marley Porter on the right.
Yes, that's Porter.
That's Marley Porter. This was in 2005.
Is that a model of the tower? That's
a model of the tower. That's a cardboard model of the tower in 2005.
How come Marley never got us that tree? What the hell, Marley?
False advertising.
Now, the guy that's with him is Dave Martin. Now, Dave Martin has been part of the Academy since the earliest years of the Academy. And Dave sent us a question. And I just wanted people to see, this is Dave Martin 15 years ago with our architect.
Looking good, Dave.
Marley Porter. Yeah. And in 2005, we had the freaking tower designed. There was no buildings on the campus. And that was like the 8th building that was built. But we had that sucker designed. And obviously a few little changes got made, but it's mostly there. Mm-hmm. Bang!
Gentlemen, thank you for all your generosity of sharing your expertise and resources over the last few weeks. You've been a real help while we work through the short-term issues of keeping our staff, continuing serving customers, and supporting our business relationships. My question is how to navigate the long-term viability for many retailers and services in a community that depends on large tourism generally that may not be back this year. Oh man, that's brutal. Due to large group concerns.
All right, now, that's not the end of it, but let me frame this for you. So Dave owns, in a community, is it Stratford, Ontario in Canada?
Oh, yeah.
So Stratford.
Wait, isn't that where Steve Ray is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, in Stratford, Ontario, which is an hour west of Toronto, they have more world-class theater than any place in the world.
Stratford-on-Avon.
Yeah,
it's a town. It is literally a town built to mimic Stratford-on-Avon, and they have theaters, like 7 of them, that seat thousands of people each. Oh, and during this theater season, I mean, big, beautiful, gorgeous, just like you would expect to find in the major cities of the world.
Right.
And this is a town of no population, but they have the beautiful little river. It looks like something out of a Norman Rockwell illustration.
No wonder Steve Ray lives there.
It's absolutely gorgeous. They have extremely fine restaurants because when the money comes flowing to town,
right,
for all these plays, it's amazing. And we've been up there several times. We had a partner meeting up there a few years ago, and all the partners, or most of us, stayed in Dave Martin's hotel.
Oh, nice.
So Dave has a hotel in this town, and every room is decorated differently than every other room.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a really unbelievably cool, just a very cool, highly intimate, personalized restaurant. Downstairs he has a hotel, downstairs he has a restaurant, across the street he has 2 more restaurants. And I can talk about the stuff in the basement of Fellini's. Jeff Sylvester was there with us one night. We're sitting in the basement of Fellini's having this big dinner and having these big conversations. And so Dave is up to his eyebrows for many, many years in hospitality,
which is one of the strongest hit
in a tourism focused city. The whole city exists for tourism.
I do not envy you right now.
All right, now here's the rest of it.
In our case, we host 500,000 visitors to our city of 30,000 in a 6-month season. Yeah, that's about right. 2/3 of annual sales. So here's 3 options. Operate as is based on 30% of the sales with a plan to pick up market share as everything plays out. Or 2, innovate in products and methods of delivery to increase sales along with trying to maintain, and then buy things as they come available. Or 3, call it, liquidate, get out.
Now, which of those 3 would you advise?
Wow, it depends on how much energy you have left right now.
I can't imagine a worse time to sell. So I think you would want to try to put that off. That would be if you have to, then you have to. But I would seek to, just for the purpose of eliminating options, try to eliminate that if you possibly can. I mean, even if you knew, hey, I'm done. Even if you're mentally and emotionally over, and you're like, I want to be out of this dang business. You still need to. Try to hold on until things come back, because when there's blood in the streets, it's a good time to buy. Not a good time to sell. I think 2 is it,
man.
And so
and 2 was.
Keep doing number 1. Just keep plugging away.
Budget for 30%, yeah.
But look at your assets and come up with a new income plan.
And it may not be a completely new business model. You may need to find like there's this one thing that we can still continue to do. I know the people that I'm talking to who are in hospitality. You're in the service industry. You serve other people, and so trying to figure out how can you continue to serve them where they are, not coming in, but just saying like we help people. Like just getting back to the core of we make people happy. We do these following things. We bring a touch of luxury into their life. Like if you can distill the actual end value, because just watching people on a stage is not where people go, right? There's some intrinsic thing that's deeper there, whether it's a status elevation or whether it's giving them a moment to separate from the real world and venture mentally somewhere else. There's something that you deliver that is more than just there in that place. If you can unpack that, distill that, and say, this is why you came, we want to still do it in this way, I don't think it's going to offset and replace what's being lost. But what it can do is close some of that. You're saying you got 30%. It may not get you from 30% to 100%, but it may get you from 30% to 50, 60%. What it'll do though is it will just lock in those relationships now, and they'll come back much stronger.
Austin Opera locally is still having people come on stage and sing and perform, and then they're streaming it, and you can buy tickets to it.
Yeah.
All right, so I agree with everything you said. And we're going to look at comments that you didn't know about after I say what I'm going to say. Because I know Dave, I have an advantage.
Yeah, that's true.
And because you saw the questions ahead of time.
Well, no, also because I've seen the properties. I've eaten at the restaurants, I've stayed many times at the hotel.
Yeah.
Now remember, it's not a huge hotel. If memory serves, it's one of those little boutique hotels down on Main Street in this charming little town. As I recall, it's like 14 rooms.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so keep in mind, he has an email list of tens or hundreds of thousands of people that have been to town from Toronto and the surrounding region, right? Mm-hmm. All over to see the plays and have eaten in his restaurants and stayed in his hotel. So he has an email list that's phenomenal. Now, if everybody's been cooped up and they want to get out, but they don't want to mix up around with people, right? If you could handle the daycare or the babysitter problem for your kids, Ryan, if you could take the wife off to a getaway weekend where we're going to have a hotel room and we're going to be able to walk through this fantastic park, because when you talk about this little river that runs down through town and the trees and the ducks and the swans and just like, it's picturesque. It's unbelievably beautiful. Stratford, Ontario. And if all of a sudden, it's a place you've been before, but now it's empty, and there's this really cool little hotel that is offering these little getaway weekends with lavish food that shows up in your room occasionally. See what I mean? And so you can, if you leave your room, you can just walk out and walk around the park and feed the ducks and do things like that. So the getaway weekend package, which is this amazing catered thing where this amazing food is going to be brought to your room, and all of a sudden cost is no object.
Right.
And if all of a sudden there's things like $800 or $1,000 for a weekend and all this food and wine and stuff's provided.
Well, most of us, I mean, I had vacations and stuff budgeted that are now gone. If you told me I could go to a place that I love that I normally have to share with others, and now I don't have to share it, but like I could just go. Again, I don't know what the laws are in your area. Maybe they're saying like, no,
I'd be very careful.
allowed.
Right now there's a big backlash on encouraging people to travel, even getting gas.
Yeah, well.
But you would have to deal with that.
This is Canada.
They're
not getting the mixed signals that we get in the U.S.
They're getting much more strict rules, though.
But even when they're mad, they're still pretty nice. So
yeah. Sorry about that.
No, I think something like that. Yeah, maybe it's thinking about those people who would pay 10x because they're maybe not suffering as much as they got.
But if you prep that plan and launch it, because here's where I'm thinking that plan would work best. Not right now, because everyone's still freaking out about touching a gas pump that someone touched. To get someone to get in the car and drive and travel at all is going to get you burned at the stake for advertising that. But there's going to be a day which the government says, okay, everybody, let's give it a shot. But everyone's still feeling a little skittish. Mm-hmm. So the general rule is, okay, go. But everyone's not, everyone's tending, if you launched that package right at that moment, where there's no possibility of backlash of travel encouragement, but everyone's still a little unsure, and you're like, look, travel, don't worry.
Now, as additional testimony to my genius, it was funny the first time, not so funny the second time. That's what I'm sensing here. Okay.
Outrageous!
This idea of pushback, this idea of backlash,
Yeah.
is one of the questions that's coming up. This idea of the criticism and the outrage. What do you do with that?
P.S. I'm going to buy. That's number 2. Yeah. Talk me out of it. Nope, not going to happen.
But I'd love to have one of you talk me out of it,
Nope.
or into option number 4, if you can think of an option number 4.
Yeah,
And then he says, stay safe and 2 meters apart. Now, you would have known he was Canadian or British or Australian from meters.
Or anyone in the world other than America.
The mere mention of meters and then the way that meters is spelled.
Yeah.
I think that there is a cool, if you are worried about backlash, by the way, with this, you probably know who your top 10, 20 best people are. Just email them directly. Like, you don't even have to advertise. Be like, hey, we're doing something kind of crazy. I just want to keep my people. If you want to, like, we can get away, have the whole place to yourself, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to offer this to 5 people on this one, this one, this one. If you want one, let me know. And you do a very close thing, good chance you don't wind up on the evening news that way. But you wind up with a lot of money.
Yep.
All right.
Deep attitudes, this is you, huh?
This is me. So the bottom line is,
Oh, yeah.
Dave,
365.
you cannot retire. So this idea of selling is absurd. I know Dave. He is an entirely self-made person. Just assembled this stuff, went out on a limb. He's one of those guys. He's already told us, yeah, my deal is it's time to hit the accelerator.
Yeah.
Now remember, the photo you saw was 15 years ago. He's old enough to retire. He has the resources to retire. And I'm going, Dave, I've never in my life met a person who was capable of creating an empire that was also capable of retiring.
Just sitting around doing nothing.
It's not possible. If you have lived your entire life building and thinking and planning and risking and going all in, you cannot switch that off. And I've been saying this for 40 years, and I've never, ever been wrong. Every time somebody's ever told me, well, I'm going to sell and retire and I'm going to just enjoy the good life and play golf and fish because I love to golf and fish. And I
How many
always
times
say,
did Michael Jordan come out of retirement?
Yeah.
and listen, I tell people, I said, let me explain something to you. You can hang on to that little fantasy you have for 364 days. On the 1-year anniversary of you having decided you're going to reinvent your life, you'll be ready to kill yourself and you will get all back in on some new deal to give yourself the same pressures and the same adrenaline rush and the same excitement and the same sleepless nights that you've enjoyed all your life. And I said, so this idea of, I said, can you take a sabbatical? Yes. Most of the time, you're done with whatever it is you think you're never going to get enough of. You're done with traveling the world, whatever it is. 6 months. 6 months in, you're totally done. 364 days in, you're absolutely done. On your 1-year anniversary, if not sooner, from the day you decided you're going to start all over again with a whole new life, with no pressure, no stuff, no problems, never happens. The only people who can retire are people who lucked into the money.
And bankers.
Well, that's how you luck into the money. In other words, bottom line, if you inherited the money, or if you married the money, or if you won the money gambling in the stock market,
Then you can handle a life of leisure.
and well, you never did anything anyway. You've been a bum your whole life. Continuing to be a bum is not that hard. And I mean that in the spirit of love.
Yeah. In a Disney kind of way.
In a Disney way. Yeah. And so the thing is, and this cuts both ways. I had a friend who's a real super strong guy. He shall remain nameless because everybody would recognize his name. And this bizarre reorganizational thing happened, new ownership, and boom, he's out. Now I knew the entire world was going to be throwing opportunities at him, and investment deals and partnership deals and trying to get him. He had plenty of money. He had had way more than enough money to retire, right? But he knew he was too young. He was only in his mid-40s at that time. This is 15 years ago. He's only like in his mid-40s. He knew he wasn't going to retire. I knew he wasn't going to retire, and he was asking me for my advice. And I said, because of who you are and because of what you've accomplished, the entire world is going to come after you almost on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. If you want to sit down and listen to him and talk to him, I said, every week you're going to be offered something that sounds like the greatest deal you've ever heard of in your whole life. And if you don't act fast, you're going to miss out on this. And I said, make yourself a promise, because you can afford to do this financially. Don't make a decision about anything that matters for a year. Well, 365 days from the day that you got ousted because of this ownership change.
Oh, thank you so much.
Then you can decide of all the stuff I looked at, now that I've had time to like process it and not be in the moment.
Yeah.
What do I actually want to do? You know, when that was all over, and by the way, this was an impulsive, super dynamic, go kind of guy. And that was the hardest thing he ever did in his life. But he trusted me, and we're good friends. And he said, like 13 months after I told him that, he said, you know what? He goes, best advice anyone's ever given me. He said, and I knew down deep you were right, and I just needed to wait 365 days before I allowed myself to commit to something that would be hard to get out of. Mm-hmm. And he said, I just didn't do it. I just refused to do it, and I just had a million conversations, looked at a million different things, and said, well, I'm not going to make my decision until a certain day in a certain month. And he said, and I stuck with it, and he goes, good gosh. He said, the stuff I would have done if I hadn't made that promise to myself. And he said, unbelievably good advice. Now, it was actually Nick Grant who taught me this.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with relationships.
Dr. Grant said, if you lose mother, father, child, spouse, he said it's a deep grief. And he said the fast track for healing emotionally is 365 days. If it was big, 2 years. And he says, but everybody thinks 90 days later, I'm doing good, I'm doing fine, I'm on top of it. And he goes, yeah. 6 months after you thought you were over it, you realized, oh, I was delusional. I was nowhere near over it. I was still way screwed up. And so this idea of change happening at the pace of agriculture is real. And so, Dave, Martin, you can't retire. You'll never be able to retire. Yeah. It's not in your nature to retire.
He knows
He knows that. And what I'm saying is, I just want to tell everybody else, if you're capable of building something, you're not capable of not doing anything. You're not capable of just going, oh, what do you want to do today? Oh, we'll go fishing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've watched you speak about advertising in a crisis or a situation, and you mentioned emotional ads being powerful and effective in this time. In the first few weeks of this, every account rep seemed to be adjusting creative for clients. It seemed like we ended up with a lot of common phrases like, we're in it together, taking necessary steps. My point is, and I have one, there seems to be a lot of ads repeating the identical phrases. I want to get back to unique creative. And I liked the piece you did about, I haven't seen my wife smile in 3 weeks. I think it was New Orleans flooding. Yeah, that was Ramsey's, right? Advice on pulling this type of content out of a client, Brother Noble.
You have any thoughts about that?
I think a lot of the answers in the question tell real stories very often. And I've heard you talk about this with respect to dialogue. Oftentimes when people write dialogue, the reason their dialogue feels canned and gross is that they're trying to write dialogue as opposed to just telling the story of a conversation that actually happened.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that I just would
There's so many stories to tell right now. In every household. Like, oh, hey, I just became a school teacher.
And there are stories that are
Who
old.
knew?
There are
That was gonna happen.
There are stories that are old, right? That absolutely ring true today. And so I think there's a good opportunity to leverage. But why were we so attracted to the previous? We looked at the ads, right? We like the older ads for its nostalgic qualities of a previous era and a time when there was hope. Like I wasn't alive in the 60s and 70s.
It's an idealized era.
But it is. But what it did is it lengthened kind of my time frame. And I think if you can accomplish that and getting people, and if you get them to think farther back, then the inverse of that will also be true. They'll be willing to think further in the future.
If you can get people to think further back, it takes them out of the moment and they can think equally far into the future. Genius.
That's why we like nostalgia. Follow-up. There's a lot. How soon? Is it too soon for humor? No, but not about certain things. There's a lot of topical pieces like Tiger. Oh God.
Have you seen Tiger
Binge-watching
King?
shows.
Have you seen
I
Tiger
refuse.
King?
I refuse.
All right.
Outright
All right. Of
refuse.
Of course you refuse.
Washing hands is certainly everything can relate to. Yeah, I
Have
think.
you watched Tiger King?
Of course I have.
No, you
and
know.
his character diamond is
No.
that he would never watch Tiger King.
No, but not for the reasons you think.
All right, what would be your reasons for not watching Tiger
Because it's
King?
objectively
Because of
quality television.
the shitty situation that all these animals are in, as basically animal torture,
Oh, well, now I feel bad.
right?
You just made me feel bad for liking
By
it.
drawing attention to these people, you're simply rewarding all of that behavior.
Okay.
I still like
You've
it.
obviously not
They
seen
should
it.
be buried 6
By the way,
feet in the
there's
ground.
nobody who watches that and is like, those people. those people are.
No. They're not those people, but tigers.
Listen,
Let's go see some tigers.
Kenny and I had to watch it. We were required to because everybody in our life that we have any relationship with demanded that we watch it.
Yeah, of
And
course
so
they did.
We watched it.
Except for me and my dad.
We watched all
it.
7 or 8 episodes. And Penny and I both had the exact same reaction. And this should not surprise you, but it would be your reaction as well. We grew up in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
You're related to these
And
people.
exactly, I'm going, I know way weirder people than that.
that's
Everybody keeps talking about how outrageously, unthinkably weird these people are. I'm going, these guys are like half-ass at being weird. And so Penny and I were naming people that we know.
That are even weirder.
That's like, no, these people can't even hold a candle to stuff that we have witnessed personally on the weird scale in Oklahoma. And it's like, no, this is like amateur stuff. The thing that made us realize is how incredibly sheltered and naive all of our friends are.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody in our life is incredibly sheltered and unbelievably naive if they think that is over the top crazy. That's only like half-ass crazy.
Yeah.
That's like, I know real
Which
crazy.
the fact that he's walking around town communicating with other people and they're like, oh, hey, and they don't think he's crazy who are in that town, that should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah,
He's the normal one. So humor, yes, but not about
dying.
COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Humor about the stupid little things that everyone's having to do,
Well, like I said, Tiger King.
like washing your hands.
and binge
Yeah, I
watching
think
TV
that's
stuff.
fine.
We saw the earlier example of the guy dancing, doing the fitness workout. Like that's funny. I think that's good. I think it just needs to be shared common experiences that everybody would laugh at. A shared common experience is not like a shared common experience that nobody's laughing at is a friend, somebody close to me has been diagnosed with COVID-19. Like that's not funny, right? But like a shared common experience of I am completely freaking over Zoom and video conferencing in general, right? And just ready to throw my laptop out the window. And we are all having so many shared experiences right now. I think there are more shared experiences occurring right now than there probably have been in really some decades when everybody was watching the same news at the same time. So there's lots that you can play off of. Just make sure it's a positive or at least neutral shared experience.
Okay. I saw a meme this morning because that's how I roll.
Yeah.
All my friends send me these incredible, bizarre memes, and I send them back even weirder ones because I'm from Oklahoma.
True story. Yeah.
And so,
that's true.
And so what happens is, I got this one I really liked, and it said, 20 years from now, the country will be run by people that were homeschooled by day drinkers.
Yeah.
Because how
That's
often do you
true.
hear about people talking about, my 3-week supply of liquor is gone, and I've had to replace it 4 times in the past 7 days.
Yep.
And it's like, everybody is laughing at how much they're sitting at home drinking. And I'm going, and they're outraged about the homeschooling they're having to do. And I'm going, good point.
Yeah.
Because there's coming a day when the nation's being run by kids that were homeschooled by day drinkers. So yeah, this is funny. I think that's funny.
Yeah, there's a line like,
it's a shared experience.
At some point, school's going to open again, and we should pay them whatever they ask.
Exactly.
Just
All teachers.
all
make-
teachers.
Yeah.
Get those kids out of my house.
Now, go.
As local retailers adapt in the months ahead, how would you recommend they transition more of their products to be bought and sold online, as opposed to their normal state of operations in brick and mortar? How best radio advertising credit messaging could be used to the people driving people to the website? Is it enough to say, we do online shopping? Also, given the reduction of walk-by or just happens to your sign traffic, how would this change the measurement of success with radio? Should it be even more refined to measuring online traffic and visits to the website, or crediting the radio commercials, giving limited? This is a battle we've been fighting forever, as all the digital people say, well, your radio ads aren't working, it's my internet ads that work.
I'm I'm not sure you didn't even finish that in an upward inflection. You just started like ranting about it.
I did. I did, yeah.
I think I'll give there's a lot to this, right? How do you take a brick and mortar digital? I think one of the simplest things that businesses can do is talk to their customers because let's be honest, like you're a local business, local brick and mortar. The only advantage that you had over Amazon is the fact that somebody could drive around the corner, walk in, grab what they needed, and leave. That advantage is now gone. Okay, so you now have no advantage over Amazon except for one. Amazon will not talk to you. And so if you're running a local business, I think advertising just that, like come over here, we'll actually answer your question. We've got all of our people who normally you'd see their smiling faces, they're live chat, ready to answer your questions. And I would lean heavily into online chat and conversational marketing as an aspect of kind of what you're delivering and what you are doing, because all the places where everybody's having to go to buy right now, no, they're not able to talk to anybody. And I still want to talk to people. Like I still, if I've got questions, I want to talk to somebody. So I think that's an easy kind of thing that you could add. It costs almost nothing. Maybe take one or two people who would normally work behind a counter, give them at least some part-time work.
Okay, I want to amplify what Ryan just said. True story. I can show you the email if you want to see it, because I'm not making this up. Most stuff I make up, but not this.
That one thing.
Yeah. No, I don't make up most stuff. That was supposed to be funny, but you believed me when I said it, which kind of disturbs me. It disturbs me.
I wasn't even mad.
All right.
Yeah.
So this morning, Beaumont, Texas.
Yeah.
B-E-A-U-M-O-N-T.
That's right. Dad's from right over there.
How big is Beaumont?
Oh, what is it? Under 30,000.
No, it's more than that. But
is it bigger now?
It's small. It's small.
Smallish.
So it's an hour north of Houston, and it's where all the oil refineries are. If you live in Beaumont, you work at an oil
It's
refinery.
basically Louisiana.
Yes.
In Texas.
It is.
Yeah, that would say either Port Arthur is the capital of Louisiana, Port Arthur, Texas.
Right.
Not far from Beaumont.
No. Yeah, you can throw a rock on a windy day from Beaumont to Port Arthur. Port Arthur is where Janis Joplin was from.
That's right.
So, Brian Alter, A-L-T-E-R, because you're going to want Alter's Gem Jewelry. Gem, G-E-M. I'm spelling everything.
Yeah.
Because the meter thing, the way that meter was misspelled.
3 stories. 2 stories.
Metric.
The count, yes. And so, Brian sent me a thing, and we're talking about, the original question was technology. How do I advance my technology? How do I position myself? What you said, Ryan, was talking to people. So I got this email from Brian Alter. I was a real small little marketing consultant 25, 27 years ago. He was a big client for me that many years ago. It's a very successful, big store. When you go to his website, you go, this is a big, fantastic, gorgeous, looks like belongs in Las Vegas next to Caesar's Palace, okay? And it's in Beaumont. And so Brian, 4th generation jeweler, I think, brilliant guy. And he sent this email and he says, you know, I made the commitment to keep all my people on the payroll, even though we're not open, lockdown. But I decided that every day one person would come and work by themselves in the store, just answering the phone. In case anybody called, they wanted to check on something or had a question, we'd answer the phone, just to be there for them. So his technological advantage, his tech, is answering the damn phone. And here's what happened. He says, you want to hear something really funny? Last week, stores closed. We sold 4 really nice engagement rings.
People are still getting married.
And he says, here's what happened. 3 of the 4 found out they were pregnant. The 2 decided to go ahead and get married. They wanted to go ahead and get married sooner rather than later.
Sinner.
Now we have an edit.
Let's go ahead and get an engagement ring. And he said they're frantic because there's no way to get an engagement ring. They're calling around. And guess who answers the phone?
Yeah.
And then the person on staff figures out a way to guide them through and show them the images and talk it through and transfer the money over the phone and deliver the ring and all is well. And he goes, can you imagine just simply having somebody in the store to answer the phone
Resulting in
is
sales.
a gigantic differentiator.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't necessarily take technology beyond picking up the phone and having a conversation.
Being accessible right now is, I think, one of the most important things any small business can do.
Can I tell you another story?
By the way, 120,000 is how many people are in Beaumont.
120,000. Yeah. My wife and I, last night, we did a virtual cheese tasting. So there's a
Wait. Did you
cheese
actually have
shop.
cheese in front of you?
The cheese was not virtual. The tasting notes were.
Okay.
No, so what we did, it's a local cheese shop here in Austin. It wasn't my idea.
Antonelli's?
I was going to say, is it Antonelli's?
Antonelli's.
Yeah.
And it was one of my wife's friends said, we're going to do this. And so all their friends got on, and it was, I think, five couples. And Antonelli's here in Austin did this thing, and I think one of them hosted it, and so they dropped off
Cheese.
the cheese, and like the platter
host
pre-made
delivered the cheese.
The host delivered the cheese to all of us, and then we all logged on to a Zoom meeting at 7 o'clock last night and ate cheese, and there's an Antonelli's person saying, okay, grab this one, you see it looks like this, told us the whole story, did some wine recommendations and stuff like that we could, drink, and all of them had a little accompaniment. It was great.
We've been doing whiskey tastings like that.
Yeah, and
not maybe, but our Psalms have been doing virtual whiskey tastings with easily accessible whiskeys.
And all they're doing, it's the same person doing the same thing they'd always do behind the same counter that they would always do it behind. They're just looking into a camera on a laptop instead of into a bunch of people's eyes. So you don't need to launch an e-commerce store. You just need to continue to show up.
So we were talking earlier about the flames and the backlash from, I hate you and I hate your ads and you're evil, and you suggested that people should travel and go have a getaway weekend, right? So let's go read this to them.
The phone number, your phone number. How did you hear about us? God awful radio. Did they spell it like that? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Short message. Because I've been listening to your easy lemon squeezy nonsense. There's no way I'm ever buying insurance to this program. Come on, guys, use your brains.
All right, you ready? We're going to hear the ad. You want to hear the ad?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Renew your plates at renewmyplates.com. So easy at renewmyplates.com. Do it while at home from the kitchen table, or on the couch or easy chair, in the tub or anywhere. Now's the time you're able to renew your plates at renewmyplates.com. So easy at renewmyplates.com. So easy peasy lemon squeezy, renewmyplates.com.
It's so cheesy. I love it.
That's what I'm saying. We were laughing about how incredibly over-the-top dorky the old videos were.
Yeah.
And this is define again uncanny valley.
Oh, uncanny valley is when something is not human originally, but is so close to being realistic that it's too realistic.
It's unsettling.
It's unsettling because it looks so realistic you could be mistaken for real, but some part of it is not, and now you're just uncomfortable.
And so the thing is, that's the way humor is in my mind. Mm-hmm. If it is absolutely, there's no way they meant for that to be taken seriously, then it's funny as hell.
Right.
If you think there's a chance, then what I'm saying is the guy who thought that was real is a true fool.
That's on him. Yeah, this is a don't you put that on me Ricky Bobby moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
it's
not like this is not, you can't, I won't own that you were offended by this. You just showed you're an idiot.
You just showed you're an idiot for not realizing this is a gag.
Look,
we're being funny.
You want to know one of my dad's favorite Amazon reviews he ever got for his book?
What?
He put it on his website. 1-star review, Amazon.com. Said, I didn't get a chance to read this book. Right? Dad screenshot.
1 star.
1 star. I didn't get a chance to read this book.
On the reprint, that needs to go on the back of the book.
Oh, yeah. Dad screenshot, put it on the website.
Okay, now, so they're saying,
stupid.
How did you hear about us? He says, I've been listening to this easy lemon squeezy nonsense. There's no way I will ever buy from you. Use your head. Now, he said, one of my clients received this email from the Contact Us form on his website, so he forwarded it to me. Do you get these sometimes? I count on it.
Oh yeah, no, it's bet.
Only 100% of the time when it's good.
When it's good, you will get these. You'll get lots and lots and lots of these when it's good.
When we started the whiskey school, for the first 3 months I told people about it, everybody was excited. And I got really nervous. Because unanimous response was, this is amazing.
And then the
I
old
went,
guard.
oh no.
And then
oh
the
no,
old
this
guard.
is bad. This is bad.
The old establishment started mocking you for the deal that I suggested you do, which is the big
medallion. The ridiculousness of that no one can take seriously. And that every time we talk about it in the Psalms, I'm like, look, if one of you takes this medallion seriously, you're probably in the wrong room.
Yeah.
This medallion is proof that whoever at the front of the room does not take their own opinion too seriously.
Right. And so it's a Mr. T type medallion.
Yeah.
Are you old enough to
we started getting mocked for that.
Which is
and then
exactly
we
what the
started
whiskey
getting mocked for
world
the program,
needed.
and that's when I realized we were going to be okay.
All right, now, you ready? Does this kind of complaint matter? I want to answer that with a video that I mentioned in last week's Monday Morning Memo.
Huh.
Se baila así, se goza más. Se baila así, oye, de aquí para allá, se goza más. De allá para acá, se puede vacilar. Es que mi sueño es tropical de Borinquen. Puerto Rico, y que se puede vacilar. Es que mi sueño es tropical.
That ad is stupid. You should hire professionals to create your ads. You didn't tell me what you're selling or how much it costs. It must be overpriced. Sing in English. This is America, asshole.
Best point ever.
That's classy.
The only people who dance like that are gay people, drug addicts, and bow-legged people.
Bow-legged people. This is like reading mean tweets. On
Which
Jimmy
one
Kimmel.
are you?
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying is, and this is a real thing,
Do bow-legged people dance a lot? Is that something I didn't know?
I'm just doing my best Oklahoma redneck, all right? Because what I'm saying is, you can Google this. Every study that's ever been done that was a peer-reviewed psychological profile says, the more negative stuff you post online, the more certain it is that you are a sociopath. You have a sickness, you have a problem. If you decide that I'm going to punish people that make me uneasy, I'm going to demonstrate my power to hurt them. Small people complain. Does it matter? It matters. They trash the hell out of you on Yelp, and they say things that make you and your staff and everybody uneasy, and can they cost you some possible business? Of course they can.
Yeah, the emotional impact is...
The emotional impact is way bigger than the financial impact. Is it something that matters for a week or two? Sure. Does it matter long term? No. Now, I'm going to say this. That's a very subjective opinion based upon my personality. I'm probably wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think a lot of it, there's some nuance. This particular complaint came through your channel, or your client's channel. So it wasn't there for everybody to see. So the best way to respond to that is delete. It wasn't constructive in any way. It wasn't actually trying to be helpful. Their intent was merely to just be mean.
All that email
so it's
was-
not worthy of a response, right? It's worthy of exactly this, which is thank you for providing us with a bit of humor. That was objectively funny.
It's a good email. Because the
That
email
somebody,
is, hey, I'm not your customer.
right.
That's all that email
But the
is.
fact
Hey,
that
dear so-and-so, I'm not
somebody
your
took
customer.
time out of their day to hear an ad, to then go to the website, to fill out the contact us form, to do this, it tells you that the ad is having some impact. Now, if somebody posts something publicly and you start to see it get some traction, well then sometimes maybe you need to jump in and you need to, speak truth into it or make a statement. But in general, when you see stuff like this happen, certainly if it's through channels that you can control, delete it, get rid of it. If it's through a channel that you can't control, do not engage. For the love of God, try to starve it of oxygen. That is how you put out a fire. You starve it of oxygen.
Now, I'm going to tell another true story. Really happened.
This will be the second one of all time.
Second one today. Now, everybody knows, not everybody, but a lot of people, when Sean Jones decided to sell Spence Diamonds, and as you know, Sean has funded and donated more money to the Academy over the years than any other single donor. There's 2 or 3 other people close on his heels. But remember, this guy's Canadian. He gets 0 tax deduction for giving money to an American nonprofit. 0 tax benefit. And he still leads the way in donors. And this is before he sold 83% of his company for $125 million in cash. Self-made guy, grew up with nothing, had nothing. I mean nothing. His family had nothing. He made it all himself, selling engagement rings. 7 stores in Canada. Now Sean, 10, 12 years ago, 13 years ago maybe, we've always had a marvelous relationship. We still talk about once a month. And Sean said, Roy, I've got a store in downtown Toronto. And it's really hard to get traction downtown because everybody walks to work. They live downtown, they work downtown, they don't drive cars. And downtowners in big metropolitan areas are famous for consuming very little media. Mm-hmm. They live downtown, they're in the middle of everything, they live that highly active lifestyle. They do not sit at home and binge watch Game of Thrones. They just don't. And they don't listen to a lot of radio, they don't see any billboards, they don't do anything normal. And he said, how in the world do we advertise to downtowners? And I said, well, Sean, in downtown Toronto, you have these bus stations all over downtown. And the thing about a bus station is the only situation where by law you can have a sign right next to the curb. Mm. In no other situation can you have a sign that close to the road.
With traffic signs?
Uh-huh. Mm. And so, no, it's just, anyway, and they're also at windshield height. Mm-hmm. When you're driving in a downtown environment, your eyes are on the level of the taillights in front of you. And so your peripheral vision takes in just what's just over the curb at eye level, but you don't see signs up here. You don't see signs up above doorways and on the sides of buildings. And I says, you can't imagine. Everybody walking down the sidewalk sees it because it's perpendicular to the sidewalk, right? And everybody driving sees it because it's right by the curb. It's the only way you can put a sign. It's called a Duratrans. It's a backlit, translucent sign, usually about 4 feet by 6 feet, and they're backlit. And I said, we're going to buy all the best shelters. And he said, Roy, I want to create a buzz. I want to create a buzz. I want to create a buzz. And I said, don't be saying that to me. And I said,
make everybody
there's a price. There's a price of the buzz. Now, this is why Sean was such a genius and still is. He said, Roy, I understand what I'm asking when I ask for buzz. I said, Sean, I'm going to give you 3 different layouts, little mock-ups for this Duratrans on the side of the bus shelter. 2 of them will be clever, and the 3rd one is guaranteed to get you 28 emails and phone calls and voicemails that say that you're a horrible waste of skin and a miserable excuse for a human being, and you ought not be left alive. You're just a horrible, horrible person. And he said, did you say 28? And I said, yes. He started laughing. He goes, that's a really specific number. Yeah. And I said, well, it'll be 28. And he said, why do you think?
Did you quickly do the math of the population of downtown Toronto and then multiply that by the number of sociopaths in the world?
Yeah. I have done this so incredibly long that I have a real good sense of
time
this.
for new math.
I knew it'd be really, really close, 28 plus or minus 1 or 2. And I said, look, in the 30 days that these are up, I said, if you choose option 3, which is the dangerous one, I'm going to give you 2 that are safe. If you choose option 3, you're going to get 28 things. And I said, and here's what's funny. The first one kind of makes you laugh. And by the time you get the 6th one, number 6, you think the world is ending. Oh my God, 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 we've screwed up. And I said, by the time you get number 10, you just want the earth to swallow you. Nobody makes it to number 28. He's going, oh, I will. He said, I'm asking for buzz. And he says, who is it that's going to be so upset? And I told him, this group of people, a little bit. This other group of people is going to bring you down. And he goes, all right, let's see if you're right. Let's do this thing. So I sent him these ads. And one of them is this horizontal shot of here's a diamond, the shanks of the ring go off the sides of the Duratrans. And so it's coming at you like that. And everybody knows it's Spence. Here's the logo. Sells engagement rings. And first one said, Merry Christmas, a little bit of holly at the top. But Mary was spelled with an A.
Oh,
isn't that cute?
Edgy.
Merry Christmas. And then the other one,
adorable.
it said Merrier Christmas, but Merry is Merry with an E. You can have a Merry Christmas or even Merrier Christmas engagement ring. Spelled that one with an E. Those are safe, those are clever. Ha ha ha. And then the other one was the same exact engagement ring. And really big, like 2.5 feet tall, really wide, dark black letters, says IT. You can see it from 3 blocks away. And then in like 12 or 14 inch letters underneath that, it sucks to be alone.
Oof.
It sucks to be alone. And then it shows this engagement ring. And I said, here's what's going to happen. And I said, every girl who thinks the guy is a little bit past due popping the question is going to take a selfie of herself standing next to that sign.
Going like,
right?
hey.
And posting it on Facebook.
Hint, hint, nod, nod.
Yeah, it's like, it sucks to be alone. And I said, you'll get buzz. I said, everybody in the city will be talking about this. He goes, that's what I want. I said, all right. So I sent him these 3 mock-ups. He says, I choose option 3, the buzz. He called me a couple of weeks later. Says, Roy, we're not going to get 28. And I said, why? And he said, well, we had 15.
It's well on your way in a couple of weeks.
And the city council of Toronto informed the bus company to take down those signs. The city council informed the company to take down
We're
the
not
signs.
that kind of
They
town.
didn't even tell us they were taking them down. They just took them down.
This is what happens when an Oklahoman advertises for a Canadian company.
But no. He was laughing.
This is what happens when Tiger King meets Canada.
He was laughing. He was laughing his butt off.
Yeah.
And he said, and I said, is it the people I said it would be? And he said, it's exactly the people you said it would be.
Yeah.
So,
Did he sell any engagement rings?
oh yeah, it was hugely successful. So the point is, I said, number one, I said, all of the women that are, I am woman, hear me roar. I don't need a man to buy me anything. I'm self-contained. I don't need a man in my life.
Or a diamond doesn't define our love.
A diamond doesn't define our relationship. I said, all these people who just want to take you on a philosophical basis, they're going to go, me. A diamond is a scam. Me. A diamond doesn't mean anything. A diamond is a con. And just because I don't have one doesn't make me less. And so those people are just going, blah, 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 sociopath crap. So, but the ones who are going to bring you down are widows. And the widows are going to say,
You're right.
Thank you for reminding me, you horrible, horrible man. It does suck to be alone. I do remember being happily married. Now that my husband is gone, thank you, you asshole, for reminding me of what life used to be like. And so the widows wailing to the city council.
Going before the judge over and over and over.
And exactly, and they just took the signs down, and he goes, I was really looking for number 28. Here's my point. This is the guy that in an industry where you cannot sell jewelry stores, nobody wants a jewelry store. 7 locations in Canada with no inventory. It's all inventory on demand. And no real estate. No real estate. And no inventory.
So he sold the brand as an idea.
He sold the brand, he sold the business model.
He sold goodwill.
He sold the profitability. They were making so incredibly much money that he sold that for $125 million in cash for only 83% of the company. The people who do that are the people who don't give a rat's ass about blowback.
And the people who do what you did, though, to the client are the people who get to write the kind of ads that can deliver that and not lose clients over it. You inoculated against. I think this is the thing. What happened here is, because I believe that we're talking about somebody who wrote an ad for a client and then they got this feedback, right? Their client got it forwarded onto them. You got to inoculate against this ahead of time. That's if you let them know, hey, this is big. This is, and if you basically talk about all the stuff that we're talking about right now to your client beforehand and let them know 28. Now they're thinking, okay, I got 2. That wasn't that bad. So just keep that in mind on the agency side.
Another thing that Sean said one time, remember, I used to tell him, I said, Sean, I don't really think you want to do this. Why? Because it's really going to hurt when people are telling you what a horrible person you are and how they hate you and all their friends hate you and they're going to make sure that nobody buys from you and I'm going to tell everyone forever. And I said, it really grates on you. When your people are hearing it and people are telling your employees that, I said, I don't want to have to answer that crap. I don't want to have to defend this. Let's just do something safe. And so if you want a buzz, there's a price for buzz. Please be sure you really want buzz. And as you say, you inoculate, you give them, and they own the decision.
And tell them what to tell their team, because they're going to hear it from their team, and that's where it'll happen.
And their team's going to
tell them and say, "Great, you got
dry.
it, awesome. I'm going to tell this. Now go and pitch your team." When they pitch the team, that's when they fully own it.
All right.
We have on the story of how Kellogg's outmaneuvered Post by advertising heavily during the Depression. Are you aware of any other stories from more recent downturns like 2008? Henry.
Forbes. I just Googled blah, blah, blah. It took me 2 minutes. So Forbes magazine, Forbes.com, how to adapt your marketing to a possible slowdown in an economy shaped by the coronavirus. Here's another one at Forbes. When a recession comes, don't stop advertising. Here's another one from Forbes. Don't skimp on ad budgets, Daniel.
Yeah. Do not cut and spend. Advertising is usually the first area to cut. During the 2008 recession, advertising outlays fell by 13%. Research shows that the firms that cut their ad spend during recession typically see significant sales and income decline in double figures.
Decline.
Shocking.
Double figures.
How could that have happened? This will also increase the pressure to cut prices, and distribution will become harder to maintain without advertising support. Furthermore, companies that cut advertising take much longer to recover, as such action will not only depress sales and market share. So,
there is ample evidence.
there we go. There is ample evidence that maintaining share of voice at or above share of market will result in longer-term improvement in profitability.
Now let me accent and accelerate that for a moment. Share of voice is what you can purchase. Share of voice is determined by your ad budget. Let's say that 17% of all the advertising done in your product category in your town is done by you. So you have a 17% share of voice. You have a 17 or 18% share of market. Okay, what if everybody else is backing off their advertising and your 17% share of voice is now 30% share of voice?
Without doing anything.
Without doing anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep advertising, but so many people have dropped out. What used to be a 17% share of all the noise being made in my category in my town is now a 30% share of all the noise being made. A 30% share of voice, if your ads are at least as good as everyone else's, today's 30% share of voice becomes tomorrow's 30% share of market. Here's the downside. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen immediately. It's a long-term play.
Right.
And so as long as the money is really tight, you see no immediate benefit, which is why people don't have emotional staying power. Okay, next.
Research shows that companies that consistently advertise even during recessions perform better in the long run. A McGraw-Hill research study looking at 600 companies.
600 companies.
600.
That's statistically significant.
Now from 80 to 85.
Sorry, that caught me off guard. That is, I pictured you shoving your glasses back up on your nose first. That is statistically significant. From 1980 to 85, found that those businesses that chose to maintain a razor level of advertising expenditures during the 81 and 82 recession had significantly higher sales after the economy recovered. Companies that advertised aggressively during the recession had sales 256% higher than those that did not continue to advertise.
McGraw-Hill, that is a specific McGraw-Hill research. 600 companies. Big recession, 81, 82. 4 years later, they're finding out, how did all this turn out?
Yeah.
How did all this turn out? And they said, yeah, the people who cut got punished. The people who pushed forward were rewarded with 256% higher sales.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
With corporate managers under enormous pressure to control costs and maintain liquidity in the current credit crisis, advertising budgets often appear to be a dispensable luxury. Executives who succumb to that temptation, however, put the long-term future of their companies at risk, according to Wharton faculty
Wharton School of Business
advertising experts. The first reaction is to cut, cut, cut. And advertising is one of the first things to go, says Wharton marketing professor Peter Fader, adding that as companies slash advertising in a downturn, they leave empty space in consumers' minds for aggressive marketers to make strong inroads.
Aggressive is the wrong word, but
What would you say?
I would say I started to say smart, but that's not fair. It is because here's what I think. We know this. like, I forget the name of the person who asked the question, forgive me. You know, you didn't actually need data. Like, we know this. Intuitively, we know when nobody else is
But the customer
talking.
needs data.
Sure, no, that's fine. But even they know. Like, it's easy. Like, nobody else is talking. If we talk, then when we're done, like, we'll be here and they won't. Like, we just intuitively know that. You don't actually need to know, is it true? What you need is the data. It's not about aggressive, courage. It's courageous, and I think it's also marketers and businesses who are in a better cash position to afford to do it. Because courage is largely a function of how much gunpowder you got, sitting back. So, yeah, I think it has to do with courageous. I think aggressive, to me, it's like, oh, those aggressive marketers.
So here's what we did. We put it in parentheses because it's not in the original story.
There you go.
Yeah. Today's economy provides an unusual opportunity to differentiate yourself and stand out from the crowd, says Fader, but it takes a lot of courage. See that?
Takes a lot of courage.
And convincing to get senior management on board with that.
You didn't see the part where it said courage, did you?
I didn't.
Because it wasn't on the screen.
No, I know. Obviously, I didn't see it. No, and so it's good to see, given that this is a marketing professor, that he came back around.
Yeah, according to Wharton marketing professor Leonard Lodish, if your company has something to say that is relevant in this environment, it's going to be more efficient to say it now than to say it in better times.
Which, by the way,
assuming you have something.
A good ad writer will always have something relevant to say.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now because we're mostly done.
Yep.
We have things to share.
Perry's.
Remember I told you local business?
Yeah.
Downtown, local steakhouse.
They also got one local
two-minute video?
Here, Chopped.
Where?
They got one closer here. It's like
no, it's not called Perry's.
It's not.
It's called Carve American Grill.
Is it the same owners?
Yes.
But we eat the crap.
Have you been at? Yeah, me too.
Well, yeah, I went for lunch once. It was amazing.
As a matter of fact, they're still doing.
They do takeout.
Curbside, Sunday, boom. I'm all over it.
Hi, I'm Chris Perry. My father founded Perry's Butcher Shop in 1979. Today, I'm going to present to you our pork chop. This is probably one of our most popular items in our restaurant. One of the reasons why I think it's one of the most popular is because customers get a kick out of the fact that we come tableside and carve it at their table. So I'll do a little carving, tell you about it, give you an idea. We call it a 7-finger pork chop because back in the 50s, 60s, when the customer would go to a butcher shop or a grocery store and talk to the butcher, they would measure the steak by the fingers. So it would be a 2-finger cut, 4-finger cut, 3-finger cut, what have you. I call this our 7-finger pork chop because if you line it up, it's 7 fingers tall. So this part is the eyelash part of the pork chop. I call it that, and it's just a name that I've given it for years. This is the eye of the pork chop. This is the top part of it. We tell the customers this is the juiciest part of the chop itself. So what we do is come out, carve that, put our lime in it to mark it, let the customer know that is the eyelash. And then we cut off the rest of the loin, like so. All right. And then this is, of course, customers absolutely love, is the ribs of the chop. You get about 3 to 4 ribs out of the chop. Matters on it's actually cut. This actually just chopped here actually gave us 4. So fantastic. Of course, we give you a finger bowl at your table, so you can we encourage the customer to pick the 2 ribs up, enjoy. So that is our pork chop, which is taken 30 years to perfect. It's dried, cured, roasted. It's a 5-day process. The last process is the roasting, which we actually roast over on a rotisserie with pecan wood for 7 to 8 hours.
Aren't you anxious for Perry's to reopen?
I am indeed.
So you can run down and get that pork chop. And so I just wanted to share that when your store is closed, you want to make everybody look forward to the day when it's open again. That's what you want to do. 2-minute video, local business. Now, Daniel, share these with us. Number 1.
The YouTube lied to me. It's like the flow be like, cheap clippers broke. I'm never going to financially recover from this.
Yeah, lean into it.
Yeah, and the crystal maze. What the hell? That's me.
Yeah, you're the crystal maze.
I'm the crystal maze. Sick food, bro. The wife had to go at it. Oh, patchy. Christ has risen. RoboCop. That's almost.
And that's
soon.
today's show. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.